Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Healing Home. I'm your host, Michelle, and today I'm joined by my favorite person, Mario Garza of Symbolic Studies.
Oh, I didn't know I was your favorite person. Just kidding. You're my favorite person.
Come on now.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so we're stoked for today. It's episode 44, which, I find very appropriate for our guest tonight, who is a wonderful man who Mario and I have had the pleasure of actually meeting back in the day, like in 2013.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And I was thinking about that how crazy. A decade ago, we were able to see him at the Free Your Mind conference in Philly, and that was our first introduction to Marty. And when we bring him into the stream, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I was tripping out to think like, wow, a decade ago we met him, and then we are all swimming together in the same online community. And here we are tonight getting a chance to talk to him one-on-one or 2-to-1, whatever you want to say. And it's really exciting. So we're happy to have everybody here with us. Happy to have Marty. Just before we get started, I want to say thank you to all the patrons. As always, thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. And all your support is super helpful to us. And it's really inspiring. Keeps the wheels turning, keeps me motivated. And it's just been super fun to be able to, have people sign up for the Patreon, and it's just awesome. So thank you all. You all are up on the screen. And as always, we appreciate you. Patreon.com/thehealinghome. If you want to throw some support our way, always appreciated. More Patreon exclusives are coming. I've got some stuff brewing, and it's going to be exciting to launch it for everybody. So without further ado, let's bring Marty to the stream. Marty, how's it going?
Awesome. It's great to have you, man. You're a trooper. Sorry, I think our internet, it's so slow that whenever we make changes on StreamYard, it takes a second for it to catch up or whatever. But nonetheless, it's great to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me. It's good to chat with you guys finally.
Yeah, definitely. So, thanks for being here, and we're looking forward to jumping into it. As I said before, we brought you in, we first saw you at the Free Your Mind conference in 2013, which seems like a long time ago, but really it wasn't too long ago. And that's when Mario and I were introduced to your work, and it was really exciting for us. And I can even remember going into the room where all of the presenters had their tables and everything. I even remember where you were stationed in the room and all those little details. And I just remember we both like looking at each other during your presentation and going like, oh my God, this is awesome. Next level information. So thanks for all of that. And if you wanted to introduce yourself to our guests who may be unfamiliar with your work, that'd be great. So the platform is yours.
Sure. I've been kicking around for a long time. Yeah. Free Your Mind. I think that was the first conference that I'd ever done. So that was that was actually a big moment for me. But anyway, yes. My name is Brother Marty Leeds. I'm a teacher of the mysteries and preacher of the heart. That's what I call myself anyway. And then I run the Gnostic Academy now. And it's a Gnostic Church and Academy. And we do service every Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we do everything from symbolic study to comparative mythology to number symbolism to you run the gamut as far as like esoteric or mystical information is concerned, but mainly focused on the Bible. And I'm an author, make documentaries and music, and I do too many things sometimes. So, but just stay busy. So it's good.
Right? I mean, you have to just continuously create, continuously share, because I think if we don't do that in our lives, all sorts of weird things start to happen. I feel like we all have purpose here. We're all here for a reason. And I think that the more we do, the more we learn, and the more we learn about ourselves, the better, right?
The more we grow.
Yes, exactly.
I'm kind of curious, Marty. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just kind of curious when, when we first came across your work 10 years ago, how far was that into your sort of journey, I guess, with, this kind of information? Because you're still teaching a lot of the things, if I'm not mistaken, that you were teaching back then as well, which I think is really interesting and cool.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, that was what, 2013, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I've been doing this since online, at least since 2011, November. But then, I mean, studying this stuff before that, I mean, 3 to 5 years before that or something, maybe. So I had been, really engaged in alchemy and studying numbers and geometry and comparative mythology, just all of that sort of stuff for many years. And then I basically just started kind of I just like, oh, maybe I should just make a YouTube channel kind of thing. Originally I was just kind of wanted to write, though. The YouTube thing was just kind of an afterthought, really. It was just like, oh, I can just make some videos, and then that just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, I've been doing this a very long time, and the work has gotten I don't know, it's like an alchemical process filtering out over the years, all this, really getting down to the nitty gritty and the really good stuff. And that's really what I'm focused on now. So yeah, way back then I was still basically just kind of, how do you say this? Like, I don't know, it's stabbing in the dark, kicking around in the darkness, kind of trying to figure things out. But now it's a lot more streamlined. There's a lot more knowing involved as opposed to searching. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Very cool, man. Yeah, you made a good first impression on us, and I remember telling Michelle at some point, I'm like, Chance hangs out.
Sorry, folks. Internet.
It's notoriously slow in these parts, but you know what it's like to rough it too, Marty. So
Aren't you guys in Portland?
No.
we're like an hour outside of Portland, so our internet speed in Portland is futuristic compared to what we have to deal with out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just saying that it was really cool just to come across some of the people you're.
I totally lost you. I can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. We'll give
Sorry.
this another chance here. It's just awesome to see who you're rolling with, online and who supports you and who you support and things like that. So lots of mutual friends. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're with before, when I was doing like Marty Leeds 33, I was just kind of doing my own thing and just kind of whatever. But now it's more like we intentionally want to build a community, and we really want to find good people. Like we were just talking about this the other night. Like, it's like, what is the litmus test or whatever of being able to sort of like hang out at the church? And it's like, are you an adult or not? That's basically it, because that's really what we're doing. It seems like recently is sort of separating children and adults, people that can handle being in a comment section and somebody saying something you might not like and you not losing your shit, I mean, just, and being respectful. And, it's like, there's a lot of, people want the world to change, but you first have to change yourself. So you first have to show people how to be respectful and how to be an adult and how to be able to handle situations. Like, Jennifer and I were just talking about, I mean, to go off what you're saying about the cool group of people, it's totally true. Jennifer and I were saying just the other night, we're about, like in Telegram groups, like you'll join a group and they'll have this whole like disclaimer in the beginning and saying, oh, you can say this and you can say that and this and this and that. And so we were thinking about doing that, but we're like, no, we shouldn't have to do that. Like, if you're going to come to the Telegram group, you should just know to be fucking cool. And if you can't be cool, then you gotta get out, So the fact that there's so many of those absolutely genuine cool people that are just hanging out and actually learning and interacting is amazing, because that's really what we need, more adults in this world.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the emotional intelligence, right? And that stuff it's hard work. It really is. It doesn't come as naturally as you might think. And, I think of all the times where I feel like, okay, I'm at a point, I've worked through all these things and then something comes up and then you have to reassess the way you react to it, and it's valuable to have people around you who are mature in that level too, because they can help to show you the things and the holes you might have that you might not see, and I love that point of being able to be around other adults or people who don't get so super offended when you're speaking your mind and it's something you're passionate about, but that other person might not agree. I think that's really important. And I think that it's hard to find that in the world today. And so I feel very grateful to have found all the people online that we've been hanging out with. And in person too, we have quite a few people, that we are able to congregate with on a regular basis where we can have open conversation. But it's been one hell of a cool ride to get to know all these people, and feel the support, like genuine support, and seeing people wanting other people to do good. You know what I mean? And then you're lifting everybody up when you do that.
Well, I think for a while too, it seemed like maybe it was just this is what a lot of people think, or maybe what I felt. It's like for a few years, it was just like you didn't think that those people were out there. It was,
right.
You know what I mean? But then you're starting to realize, no, there's a whole gang of us, and they're way cool. Like that's what we found out when we went to Music and Sky. We're like, oh, we know this person's cool and this person's chill, but then you meet him in real person, in real life, and it's just like next level. You're like, oh, wait, they're way cool, And so that's I don't know, that's been pretty inspiring, especially the last like year or two with us starting the church and getting like so many genuinely cool people that are, that we respect, and there's a mutual respect, and like, we want to do a gathering next year. We're planning on it. And I'm like, I'm way excited to meet a bunch of these people in person, It's so that's it's so what this world needs now too. It's absolutely what's needed.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy for you guys. And the few people or the handful of people that we have met that we first formed an online relationship with, it's been so amazing that when you connect in person, I feel like you almost can, it feels as though the relationship has been fast tracked or something.
Right.
It seems like I've been really impressed and like blown away at how chill some of these people are, and they're as advertised, for the most part. And I'm just like, wow, we can get into like real information, and like there's this real heart centeredness too that I can kind of feel, that I feel like obviously if you're meeting someone for the very first time and you don't know anything about them, it takes a long time to kind of strip off some of those layers. But you already know that you can talk to some of these people about whatever you want and they're going to be okay with it.
That's
right.
Yeah, that's what you'll get at Flattoberfest too, because that's one of the. It's a total relief, like walking in and immediately you're like, oh, I can talk to anybody here about pretty much anything. You know what I mean? And you're not always going to agree, but that's what's so. It's just really fantastic. So I give big props to the people that put that stuff on and have continued to do it. Like that's why I always give props to Karen B, because she's been doing that shit for how many years now, and she did it through COVID.
Right.
It's like that's something that's just so necessary for getting these people together. A lot of people are saying like, oh, why do you go to Flattoberfest? It's like all a bunch of people that you agree with and stuff like that. It's like, because we want to have fun.
Yes.
That's it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And this is our first Flattoberfest, so we're really stoked.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. So I wanted to ask you a bit, Marty, about what inspired you to actually start the church and begin your Sunday sermons. And another question to springboard off of that is, if I wanted to know if you were raised in any certain religion, or if it was something that you found on your own and then it has inspired you to create what you're creating right now.
Well, the second part of the question first, no, I wasn't raised religious, but like I had religious family members that were pretty devout, actually. Like, like my great aunt was a nun, my uncle, he was a brother, just that sort of thing. Pretty devout Catholic, very Catholic. But I was never raised in any of that. I didn't know anything about it, literally. Hey, my wife's here. And I remember I got kicked out of CCD class, actually. So, that's kind of where I was. Anyway, so no, wasn't raised religious. Why did I start the church? Basically, probably about a million reasons. Like, I mean, I could literally sit here for the next hour or two and give you reason after reason why I started the church. A big reason is that I'll say this. What's up, Thunder Chicken? Big reason I would say is one of the big reasons is that truthers need an actual church. Like, that was the one thing for me. I'm like, okay, well, all these people are online and they're discovering conspiracies and uncovering all this sort of stuff, but it's like they need the spiritual backbone to that. And it's something that people need really weekly. That's what I found I needed anyway. So I was like, well, I could provide that. The other thing is I mean, it's just naturally where it led. I just stayed the course, and it was like, okay, well, you got to go here and you got to go here, and then it's here. And so eventually it was just like, oh, well, I got to a point where I realized, like, okay, the problems of this world are not going to be solved by going to, whatever, fix it, fixtheearth.com or martyleeds33.com or whatever, right? No, we need something larger, something more powerful, something true too. And when, I got to Christianity and of course the way we teach it and understand it and preach it and that sort of thing, the mystical aspect of it, I mean, it's the most powerful thing. I mean, it's just next level shit. I don't even know what to say about it. It really is. It has been in my life. It's helped me understand things in ways I never even knew possible. So I just realized that it's like, okay, well, I got something kind of special here. So I really need to, put it into overdrive and put the pedal to the metal. And so, the other thing about doing it is I just enjoy the hell out of it, man. It's fun. Like, I never thought in doing Bible study would be such a kick in the, it's such a kick. And it has been. I mean, I enjoy it. I really do. I sit down and I just eat it up. And it's way more not only entertaining, but just spiritually fulfilling, intellectually fulfilling, anything like that than I get from any sort of conspiracy, any sort of, that sort of thing. Just doesn't really do it for me anymore. So. Oh, you're muted. I think you're muted. I can't. Oh. Hello?
Oh man.
You were muted. Sorry.
Can you hear us now? Are we coming through?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, it's our internet. You can click a button and it takes like 30 seconds for it to work. So
That's why I haven't thrown many people up in the chat either, because I realize.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you mentioned is just, how fulfilling it is for you to be doing this. And I think, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but it's because you're kind of taking the full breadth of what you know from numerology and astrology and things of that sort, and you're incorporating that information, which is pretty unique, And so I found personally that I grew up around a lot of Christians and Catholics, So I went to church many times over with my folks. My, grandparents and some parts of the family would go to Spanish Mass and things like that. I, of course, kind of abandoned it, I would say, in my teens and 20s and things like that. But the more I learn about what's happening in the stars, the more I learn about symbolism and occultism and magic and just all of that kind of stuff, the more I'm learning about the things that I was taught when I was a child. And so it's actually bringing me back to want to know more about what's going on in the Bible and some of these lessons and everything else, because I can't not think about it when I'm researching things symbolically. And so I tell Michelle all the time something that is like, oh, wow, I just learned this thing that relates to this storyline in the Bible. I didn't know much about it, but now I know a lot about it because I know the astrological sort of significance of it. And so so the more I've kind of veered off into this world, the more I actually have an appreciation for all of the Christian symbolism that I grew up with. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, even just the notion that, for me personally, because I'm in the sort of the same boat, right? But me personally coming back to it and then actually starting a church and being a preacher and like literally doing it is nuts. Like the idea that I would be doing that is just insane. And especially if you, I'm sure if you asked a lot of the people I grew up with too, or even, through my 20s and into 30s, they'd probably be like, what, he's a preacher now? But there was nothing else I could do except go back to it because it just made so much sense. Because like I said, it was just like you were saying, it's tying all these things together. I came to a point where you realize that the people that have been on this plane of existence before us, the many generations that have been here, they figured a lot of things out, and they knew that what this experience was something pretty damn special. It was something very unique, and that you were going to need a lot of guidelines when you were here. You don't know this when you're young, but now that you get older, and especially if you get into the esoteric, you realize that the religions are your guidebook, if you will, your guidebook here. That's really what it is. The problem is and I think we're fixing that now, or we're coming back to true esotericism and mysticism now. The problem is that a lot of those, well, pretty much all of them, all of the religions, especially Christian, they have no idea about any of it, and so that's why it's become vacant and vacuous, and it's a skeleton. And so everything that's going on right now is really, I think, just needed to happen, or needs to happen. I say, if you're a mystic and you're into this stuff, like, number one, if you take it seriously, it will end up leading to Christ and Christianity. And I encourage people to even go to literally become a Christian, which is nuts. That, like, once again, like I was saying that, but once again, when I was honest with alchemy and just really got into the core of what they're pointing to, it was Christ. You got into really what, the Freemasonic doctrines say when they, it's like the Andersonian view and the Hutchinsonian view. And it's like, what were their conclusions, these Masons that were trying to figure out what Freemasonry was? It was a Christian dispensation. That's what it was. All of it. So I was just really honest with my reading of that stuff. And every time it was like, go to Christ, go to the Bible, New Testament, go. So I just did. And they were right, in my opinion,
Right. Very interesting. No, I can absolutely see that. And like I said, I feel more encouraged these days to learn more about it. And another thing that's been kind of fascinating for me personally is just the fact that it's opened up kind of a line of communication with my father and my mother, who are Christian. And so I feel like I was going so far one way with my astrological research and symbolism and alchemical stuff and all the things that I'm interested in, that I wouldn't say I lost touch with my folks, because I've always been myself around them. But having this lane to talk about, just kind of some Christian parables and symbolism and things like that. And my dad's trying to communicate, what he just learned at church and everything. I have a genuine interest in it now, and I get a lot out of it. So that's kind of been a unique thing for me, is just kind of coming around sort of full circle that way. But I totally get it.
Well, yeah, and it's funny too, because I always remember when your folks came to visit you. This was like a while ago, probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Mario has all of his symbolic books and astrology books and everything else. And one of the first things they thought was like, are you worshiping the devil?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think the connection that you're able to make now, you're able to explain some of the things that they may have thought were scary about what you're studying, and show them that there's actually way more of a connection than they might think, and that it's not necessarily an evil thing.
Sure.
It's all blends together. And I think that that's pretty awesome too.
Definitely. It's a blessing.
Yeah. And I always look at the plant connection, and knowing that there is a deep connection with like using things like anointing oils, and that like using oils on the body was one of the main ways for people to heal. And I was never raised with religion whatsoever, really. So I went on my own journey and always understood inherently that there was something bigger than me, but never had guidance towards anything. And so I've always just remained open in that sense. And so the older I get, I feel like the more open I am to understanding that this stuff is all connected, and that there is something so much stronger and bigger than we might even all understand. But I think that, seeing it through these lenses can help us to make lots of connections in our lives in all different ways.
Well, when you were saying, when you were mentioning about, bringing all of, like, the numerology and all of these different subjects together, I mean, that's really what, Christianity is the holy science, is really what these religions, when you get to the, the true, I would say the true religions, if you will, but when you get to the, past the exoteric and you get to the esoteric, you find those universal truths. They're just there, and that comes down to the fact that there's essentially just one divine science behind the whole thing, so I mean, this is, I think, just what happens once again if you just do your due diligence and you're just honest with it and keep going. That when you get into astrology and you get into tarot and you get into symbolism and stuff like that, the confluence or the pinnacle of the study will lead you to the Bible, because that's just what I mean, that's just where it's taken me. And I think that there's something really special with with Christianity. It's just, unfortunately, it's been lost. It's been so perverted and diluted and dumbed down, and the gnosis is gone, and it's all devil worship. If you talk about numerology and blah 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 blah, the good thing about this though is when we start pulling out this genuine information that's just absolutely irrefutable, and then just like when Jennifer and I went to Germany, and you actually see this stuff in the architecture, you see it in the paintings. It's just, once this stuff is brought out en masse, there'll be no denying it. If you start denying it, you're going to look like the globe head. That's what, and I said this many years ago. I said, the modern day Christians that are still, literalizing and fundamentalizing everything, they got off the spinning ball, but they remained on another ball, and that's their, and they're going to look just like the globe heads. They're going to look like Simon Dan, and every single last one of them. So, and it's all coming out right now, and there's, they're not going to stop it. It's at this point, it's like the floodgates have opened,
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, yes.
Right. This is just kind of an aside sort of thing, but another thing that we've talked about over the years is Christian truthers and their spiritual backbone kind of allowing them to go deeper with research. Actually, yeah. I've kind of noticed that. And so there was a period of time where I was interested, right, in MK Ultra, mind control techniques and things like that. And was it the first Free Your Mind that Kathy O'Brien was at?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think it was the one that you were at, Marty. Kathy
Yeah,
O'Brien, right? Transformation of America and everything else. And but there are researchers out there who have done a lot of digging with that kind of material, and several of them are Christian. And I've just always told Michelle, I'm like, this gives them kind of like armor, I think, to do this kind of research.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's something to be said about kind of the Christian influence on the truther movement. And I know some people might think that it could be a negative thing, but I found that there have been a number of people where actually that gave them kind of an extra sort of way to kind of just like shield themselves, perhaps, or protect themselves spiritually or something along those lines. And so just wanted to kind of acknowledge that and kind of put that out there as well. Is that good?
Absolutely. I've actually said something very similar for years, that like you can't go down into the rabbit hole, into the darkness, unless you can't, sorry, I muted myself. You can't go down to that darkness if you don't have any light. If you just go down there without any light, you'll just suffocate and die. It will swallow you whole. The people that go down there, you have to go down there with light. And if you go down there, chances are, and you're honest with your spiritual journey, it'll just make that light stronger. If you go down there, and what'll also happen is a lot of people will be in a conspiracy theories will go down there and realize how dark it is, and they realize, wow, if it's this dark, there must be the other end. And I think a lot of people actually found that through like flat earth and COVID and things like that a lot of people actually came to God, or came to an understanding that there was a light behind this creation because of those things. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it, Bob.
Well, I kind of want to bring it to Polaris.
Yeah.
Bring
I'm
it to the
into
center, because Marty, I've seen you make some beautiful posts on Instagram about Polaris. Mario and all of his Northern Symbolism Studies has really just opened up a lot of stuff for us. And so I just wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what is the significance of Polaris, and what symbolism do you see within the star and its place in the cosmos?
Well, I mean, it's one of these things that it's like, all of everything in our sky and around us has meaning. This is really the mystical insight that you get, is that, in one sense, you see God within all things, right? And so everything has this really potent and deep meaning. And then you get to the stars, and it's stuff that they're all metaphysical. They're these things that they're just, given these weird names and titles and stuff like that, and you don't really have any direct relationship to them, right? And so it's like, how do you draw any meaning from that sort of stuff? Well, then that goes into actually tracking and mapping it and looking where it is in the sky and what is it doing and where are these star patterns and what time of the year. And that is what actually gets you into symbolism. Of course, as you guys know, it's like now, okay, now we can make sense of why, Virgo has a sheaf of wheat and blah, 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 right? All of that. So now you get to Polaris, that, as you're saying, it sits in the center. Well, I mean, this is like, it's the high point in the creation. It's the top, it's the apex, it's the pillar, the summit, or whatever, if you will, of our quote unquote dome. And so it's literally considered like the highest point, and so even just spiritually, you recognize if the whole thing is about, climbing the rungs of the ladder up to heaven and that sort of thing, then Polaris just naturally, inherently has a unique position in our cosmos. And so that, with it, just because of its uniqueness in the center at the top, has with it inherent symbolism. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like, once again, you don't have to go to some damn holy book that you have to dust off to get the meaning. You just actually extract it directly from your experience. And this is what, and when we did a couple of them, but the Cherokee story of creation and the Ojibwe story of creation, where we showed that all of these native cultures, they all had a very, pointed to the pole star and gave it a very strong significance. Well, why? It's like, oh, this endless mystery. Well, just because they were paying a fucking attention. They were in their creation and they were like, okay, well, there's something significant that's not moving. Everything's revolving around it, blah, 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 blah. And so then it's like saying, okay, well, as far as I understand, when we extract the meaning of Polaris from the Bible, it's like that's where, you go up and out of this creation, the physical and the metaphysical, if you will, into straight unity with God. That's literally how it's, drawn in the Hebrew cosmology. That's how it's explained in, Psalms and in, Jesus and where he ascended in heaven, blah, 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 blah. You can just keep going and going. So, that's, this is the kind of stuff that you'll find in the mystery school tradition. That's what we teach, obviously there's strong significance to Polaris, where most people, it's just a light in the frickin' sky, and it's like, well, no, to the mystic and to these cultures that knew what was up. No, that was your ticket home in one sense. So.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's my understanding. And I'm still in awe of it. And just the idea that this is seemingly what's being referred to when people talk about the stairway to heaven. There's some really great illustrations that depict this very nicely, and the northern sky being, according to some people, the location of God's throne, if you will. And so all of it to me is just, it's so significant. Here we are. Our internet, of course, as always. So now, does it look like there's maybe two screens for people? Hopefully you can hear us, Marty.
Oh, I can hear you. It's all good. I know all about shitty internet. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know.
It's so
I've been
frustrating.
dealing with it for 5 years now. So
it really tests your patience, So anyways, I was just going to say that, or I was in the middle of saying that it's still something that the novelty of what it represents has not worn off to me personally. And I think so many things go back to the world axis and the pole star. And I think a lot of early religious groups and cults and things like that, their whole thing was the northern sky, seemingly, and I refer to this as probably the stellar tradition, or the stellar age, or the polar tradition, or the polar age. And so just to kind of see you integrate this information, I'm not surprised. You're a smart guy, and also you're a flat earther, but I just love it when people are actually like talking about some of this stuff publicly, because I feel like it's just one of the more important topics out there that I feel like deserves more exposure, I suppose.
I think to the what you were saying, like you never get tired of it or whatever. I think when you really get into this stuff and really embrace it, and you come to actually know it, in the sense of like you get the gnosis of it, you get what it means, you understand the symbolism. Like I never get tired of this stuff. Like never. It's like just like picking up a guitar. It's like I'm never gonna be like, oh, this sucks. It's like, no, like endless hours of entertainment and discovery and that sort of thing, and connection. I mean, when Jennifer and I went to Europe last year, we just spent a bunch of time going into cathedrals, right? Just these churches, and I could have spent hours in that place, just hours, and just staring at all of the stuff, and never get tired of it, just because it's crazy. I mean, not entertaining. It's just spiritually fulfilling stuff, you know. And that's why I teach it, because it's like once you get to know this stuff and really intuit it, that's when things just start, like you're saying, really open up. You don't get tired of it. It's more, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and I would agree with all that. And I guess for me, some of the best insights I've gotten from the North Star, the polar tradition, and all that stuff is the importance of knowing yourself, and that it always comes back to self, and that there's this aspect also of the underworld with the North Star, and that we go to the underworld almost upon exit here, perhaps. I don't know, but it's the sense I get. And then it is that reminder of the duality, just like you said in the beginning, of like, you have to have the light, but you also have to have the dark. So we're going into these dark spaces or whatever, and remembering to not lose your light is very important in these times. But I feel like the northern connection it's like a source of light in its own way, but it's also a source of darkness, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's the pole star, it's changeless center, so it's the still center,
right?
And so it's been considered to be a little more passive. I think anciently it was considered to be very, very feminine, and connected to the goddess and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I think personally, I don't know how you view it, Marty, but I see that the heavens are the underworld.
Yeah.
That they're basically synonymous. And so when ancient cultures were referring to the underworld, I think that that's what they were referencing. And there's a number of groups that basically said that we do ascend, our souls ascend to the north upon death through the underworld or to the underworld. And it's no different than the heavens. It's no different than the night sky from how I view it. But that northern location always being kind of like the opening there.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, the center point within, I think, is the correspondence you're making, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it gives, when you look at the cosmology, it gives a purpose too. There's always this notion that's like, okay, what are you here for? There's a sense. So when you're saying like, if they're mentioning that this is the underworld, it's just like I always say it when they say, oh, we're fallen beings. Well, if you're fallen, that just gives you a directive to get up and climb. It's that kind of thing. And so the pole star, by its nature, literally by its nature, gives you that basically spiritual directive, And then when you talk about the fact that the notion that this axis mundi, this anthropocosm, zodiac man kind of idea that we are reflective of the whole thing, this is a notion that's, it's as above, so below. It's just everywhere. You can find this idea scattered across, spiritual doctrines and all that sort of stuff. And of course, we weren't taught that in school or anything like that, or even in religious, you're not going to find that if you go down to the Catholic Church. No one's going to be telling you that shit, even though the Bible is absolutely centered on such a pertinent, piece of information. So, talk about giving you purpose, connectivity, understanding that there's a designer, that it's intelligent, that all of that sort of stuff comes with this understanding of the pole star.
Right. Yeah, well put. Exactly. It's the sort of physical and metaphysical center, I've said. And to me, it's amazing that literally our compasses point north, so it's just like, that blew my mind at a certain point, realizing that, the North Star and the northern sky and then the northern part of Earth and all of the symbolic significance of that. And then literally on a physical level, everyone's compasses are pointing north as well, pointing to this sacred center. To me, that's just still kind of a mind-blowing sort of thing.
Right. Go ahead, Marty.
I'm sorry, just to jump on that a second, that when the compass, because you have the two words like compasses, which is, a set of compasses, which is a drafting tool, and then the compass, which always points north, as you were saying, it's like, well, when you look at the set of drafting compasses, what does that do? It makes a point in the center and circle around. It's literally what our cosmology is, it gets right into that. So it's like, so in this sense, as a mystic or an esotericist, right, when you look at just a simple compass or a set of compasses or the pole star, it's like, boom, it's right there. The entire mystery in a set of compasses or a frickin', you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
that's the way it
Yeah.
should be. That's the way it should be, right? You know, like you should be able to find God, look down at a freaking square. Oh, yep, there he is. So
That's it. Nope, exactly right. Yeah, there's some Freemasonic illustrations where literally the hinge of the compass has the eye of providence in it, essentially the eye of God in it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's a Polaris symbolism to me, as far as I'm concerned. And the compass always being more identified with the heavens, as you know, versus say the square being more emblematic of Earth is what I've always heard. So it all just lines up. It's beautiful symbolism.
Well, it also says too that, you know, and this is actually something I'm going to be talking about this Sunday, is that the scientific aspect to this. You know, this is the thing that really hits me, because it's not, now we're not just dancing around in our theoretical philosophical minds and, you know, full of conjecture and that sort of stuff. We can actually put solid mathematical and cosmological ideas to religious, you know, notions, you know. So it's like that takes it out of the realm of just woo woo kind of I got some good philosophy thing, and really anchors it into science, which to me that puts it completely in the next level. You know, when I realized that the Bible was written mathematically, and therefore there were scientific principles, verifiable ones, that anybody could find in there. Well, that was like, oh geez, man, that puts it into a whole nother category, because now it's not just a bunch of ancient people throwing some stories together to make sense of their reality when they didn't know shit. No, not even close. It's the exact opposite. They figured it out. They understood what Earth was, what man's role here was, and that sort of thing. And then they said there's a science based on that understanding of ascension. And that's what all the ancient sages, mystics, masters, whatever you want to say, said. There was a holy science. You know, I just kind of took that seriously. And of course, that's going to lead you to math because of just the, you know, the necessity of it.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. It's amazing to me. I mean, I've said it, shades of this already a couple times, but the reinforcement that what's going on, you know, in the Bible being accurate and true is staggering sometimes, because it's not really where I tend to focus a lot of my time. But when I hear things, I'm looking into certain rabbit holes. Actually, very recently, I just really got into shepherd symbolism. And so for the hermit card, because it's kind of my opinion that, to me, it kind of looks like the hermit card, the hermit himself, that he might be an elder shepherd, which is really interesting because he corresponds with Virgo, right? So the Virgin, obviously there are lots of correspondence with the Virgin Mary, and Christ being a shepherd, being a good shepherd, and everything else. And so I was prompted, this is usually how my research works, I'm prompted to look into biblical storylines based on like the symbols that I'm researching and stuff. And every single time I just walk away with like my mouth open with like how sort of encoded these stories are. So just to be completely honest with you, I have not personally read through the Bible. I've just read through different parts of it, but I do feel like it's coming. And so I don't know when, but I feel like it's just like bubbling up to the surface at some point.
Well, you evil sinner.
Right.
The hermit card. Look at the hermit card. I mean, there he's, what is he doing? He's on the top of the mountain, right? He's like at the peak, if I remember correctly. And then he's got his head. If I remember correctly, he's got his head down, eyes closed. So he's obviously doing internal work there. And then he's holding up the Star of David, which is a light. You know, and that's the 6 around 1, which is focused on the 7th point within. And then he's got the staff, which is, of course, the staff for me is always your ascension up. That's your spinal column. That's your wand, your scepter, always, you know. I mean, and mystics will tell you that too. You know, that's nothing new. So it's like, it's all right there. Once again, like you should be able to look at the hermit card and be like, oh, the mysteries are right there. I got it. It's right there. You got the pole star, you got the mountain, you got what you're supposed to do, the internal work. It's all right there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You totally get it, man. Yeah, the staff. It's the world axis. It is your spine. It's all these different things. Mm-hmm. One of the things I wanted to ask you actually is, you know, going along my studies, it's like, okay, I follow each sign during the sign itself under the tropical system. I'm not opposed to any other system. It's just kind of convenient for me, I suppose. But Aries, you start off with Aries, and it's like, well, the Christ symbolism obviously is off the charts with Aries being, the ram, the lamb, the lamb of God, sacrificial lamb, all of these different types of things. The sign before that, Pisces, off the charts, Christian symbolism, fisher of men, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like every single sign I look into, there's some Christ-like symbolism that comes to the surface and bubbles up to the surface. Do you have an opinion that symbolically Christ is related just to all of the signs, or do you see it as that there's just a few specific signs that he's more so related to, or do you generally see something else, some other sort of way of looking at it? What do you think about that?
Well, it's Christ is above all, through all, and within you all. It's like all. Okay, so, and I mean this very seriously. And this was the thing that I just had the conclusion that I just had to come to, that Christ is in all things, meaning that all things will ultimately lead you to the Christos. And we just did this last week or whatever, when we looked at the medicine symbol. Most people see the medicine symbol, and then I just showed them, like, no, that's a symbol, or in one sense, a symbol of Christ. And then we looked at the dollar bill, and we looked at the all-seeing eye of God, like we just talked about. We said most people see that as a symbol of the New World Order and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, that's a symbol of Christ. So when you were saying about the disciple, or the houses of the zodiac and stuff like that, well, they all revolve around, in this sense, Christ. So there has to be some aspect within each of those signs that of Christ in that sense. So yeah, I mean, you should expect to find that. That's what I found. And this is when you get into the mathematics of pi and stuff like that, right? When we talk about, hey, pi is a representation of the word of God in mathematics, in the language of math. And then we find, and this is what we're going to talk about this next Sunday, is we find pi in all these different places. Whether it's the chessboard, or the freaking light switch, or a candle, or the freaking billiards table, or whatever it is, you keep. And the point is, it's like, yeah, Christ is there, and there, and there, and there. You know what I mean? And so so in the Bible, when you hear about these things like Christ is in all things, and all things through Christ, and blah blah, it's like, no, they're really serious about that. Like, to the point that when we say that Jesus Christ is in our alphabet, it is the foundation of the English alphabet. I'm 100% serious about that. That's not I mean that. So yeah, that's the quote unquote, if you will, next level of truth seeking, in my opinion, is people to start recognizing that.
Gotcha. The connective tissue between all of these things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have any opinion about this, but in a way, it reminds me of mercurial symbolism. And my sort of thing over the years has been that a lot of people today definitely see Christ as a solar deity. But I think that, historically, perhaps early on, he was looked at maybe more of a mercurial sort of deity, and this makes sense on why he's everywhere, and Mercury is very much kind of he's a mercurial figure. To be mercurial means that you have different sort of personas or faces or masks or whatever, and that was one of the things along my studies, was trying to get a hold of Mercury and the symbolism of Mercury. And then at a certain point, I realized, similarly to Christ, to be honest, and then at a certain point I realized, oh, well, I think what a lot of alchemists and things were saying was that Mercury's all over the place, that he's like symbolic of ether in a lot of ways. So yes, he's masculine, yes, he's feminine, he's here, he's there, he's all over, so a very similar sort of thing with my research with the signs is no matter what sign I'm in, I see mercurial sort of footprints or thumbprints or whatever,
Yeah. Can I say something to that? Yeah, because this is something that people get really hooked on, or like stuck in their mind with a little bit too much. Because, like, just so you're talking about, we say like Christ is in all things, right? That sort of thing. Well, then when we say, well, Christ is a representation of the sun, because he absolutely is. I mean, at least the mathematics in his name, and we could talk about there's 365 and 864 and 666 and blah. We could talk, all of that. But that doesn't mean that that's the only thing he is, because as we can find, well, there's the mathematics of lunar cycles within Christ as well. Okay, well, then we can also find that Jesus Christ absolutely represents the zodiac as well. And not only the zodiac, but the 12 disciples being the 12 houses of the zodiac. You know what I mean? Then we can also say, well, those 12 houses, they actually are 12 disciples. They, if you will, revolve around Christ. So in that sense, what does he represent? Well, the pole star, right? So a lot of times people will get hung up on this. Well, Christ is the sun, and so that's the only thing he is. And the point you're making is solid as hell, because it's like, no. He's mercurial in that sense. The sun, the moon, the belt of the zodiac. He's the entire damn canopy. He's the pole star. He's the point in, within you. That's the thing. So Jesus has unbelievable, especially mathematical, by the way, connections to Hermes, Mercurius, Trismegistus, or Mercury. Absolutely.
Nice. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean that's how I kind of see it these days. So I'm glad you feel the same way, for sure. And then the mercurial connection with the northern sky too is absolutely there. I've talked about some of this stuff, but essentially Mercury's always related to the phallus. That's one of his things. He's always holding the caduceus. Sometimes he's leaning up against one pillar. It's not uncommon for Mercury to be on one foot, or on his tippy toes, kind of like the Thoth magician card, if you're familiar with the deck at all. And so, which is ruled by Mercury. And so the magic wand is a very mercurial sort of thing. And so Mercury relates to the axis mundi, and he also relates to spin, in my opinion. And so it's literally the spinning of the heavens, but it's the cosmic axle, which is, the stairway to heaven and everything else. So the mercurial connection with the world axis it's there all day long.
Right. And I always think of the psychopomp.
The guide of souls,
and
conductor of souls.
And being a traveler, and we're dealing with, I love that you brought up the term ether, because that's what I always think of when I think of Mercury, and ever changing and quickly changing and transforming and malleable.
Right.
Really.
Right. Yet eternal too, which is this other element of it.
Right.
It's very, very fascinating. And there's other depictions too of an expression of Hermes Kriophoros, and he is a good shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the thing that I took away from my good shepherd symbolism. I'd love to pick your brain on this a little bit more, but just the idea of like needing guidance, and how I feel like one of my struggles has been I got to do it on my own. And so I was really moved by some of the things I was looking into regarding shepherd symbolism, how the good shepherd is willing to give his life to his flock. Do you have anything to say about any of this?
Yeah, I mean, we just covered, I think it was a couple chapters ago, and it's like 3 lines in the Bible basically, but it's like the shepherd, and he has like 100 sheep, and he's leading them, and then the one sheep goes astray, and then the shepherd has got to go get the sheep, right? He's got to leave the other 99 sheep. He's got to go get the other one, and that went up the mountain, by the way, of course. This I got to go up a mountain, right? And so then grabs the sheep and comes back, and then he loves that sheep more than the rest of them, right? And so there's a great tale here, because it's basically a tale about essentially being an autodidact, right? Like you were saying, like you need guidance and stuff like that. One of the things you actually learn in Masonry is to be an autodidact, right? Is to essentially kind of like, oh, well, do it on your own, right? It's all up to you. Like, it's on your shoulders. No one's going to help you, climb the mountain for you. You got to do it yourself. In that process of being, quote unquote, an autodidact, what you realize is you're not doing this on your own. That's the big reveal about being an autodidact, is that this is, if you're genuine and honest with your spiritual pursuit. Because what will happen? Well, it happens to pretty much everybody I know. Weird connections start happening, synchronicities, little magical moments, all of a sudden flashes, inspirations. And if you're, once again, in your questioning and you're analytical, you look at that shit and you're like, well, where did that come from? Why is it that some sort of flash in my head or my heart or whatever told me to go here, and next thing you know, boom, I had a little epiphany or something like that? What is that? Then you realize that's what I'm saying. You're not doing it on your own. All things through Christ with strength me, kind of thing. And so the whole point of that parable is like, no, you have to in this sense, leave the herd and have the courage to go out and do it on your own. But guess what? The shepherd is going to be with you. The shepherd is going to get you. And if you do that, he's going to look at you fonder, because you show that you have the strength to go and do it on your own and question the norms and say, no, I got to go check this shit out myself. It's an amazing parable about what the whole spiritual quest is really all about. Yeah. It's also it's a giving up. to, not giving up, but giving up to something higher, giving yourself to something greater and be like, okay, I'm just going to be here dictating it. You got to lead, kind of thing.
Right. The act of surrender and how
Yeah,
important that
exactly.
is.
That's what I
Yeah,
meant. Yeah.
totally. Wow, I'm loving this. And one of the things I want to kind of segue into is what kind of challenges, if any, have you faced during this transition and starting the Gnostic Academy and doing your sermons and all that? Has there been anything that's come up for you on even a personal level that's been like, okay, I've got to deal with that now because here we are creating this brand new thing?
Well, picking fiberglass out of my face. That was
Yeah, I want to get to that physical side of everything too, because you guys are creating beautiful stuff there. I mean, you're creating a homestead. You went from Hawaii to Wisconsin. Now you're in Missouri. I'm seeing your posts and I'm like, yes, get it. This is awesome. So I want to just kind of segue into that and what you guys are creating there and what's going on the homestead.
Well, as far as the church thing, I don't know. Since we're doing it the way that we feel like it needs to be done, obviously there's going to be challenges that come up, but we're maintaining our lane, and so we're not going to get outside of what we're doing. So I don't, and obviously there's going to be challenges, but as far as like things taking us off course or anything like that, that's just not happening. You know what I mean? Because we have a resolve. We know what we want to teach. We know what we're doing. We know what books we want to write. We know the people that we want to have involved. I will say that there was one person that we were going to have involved in the church, and that kind of went sour. But at the end of the day, we learned the lesson from that, and that's good about just who we want involved and who we want teaching and that sort of thing. So yeah, but then as far as like the physical place, like we just moved down to Missouri and we're completely overhauling this piece of land and living living in a tent right now. We just ordered a yurt. We're going to have that put up, and so we're doing chickens, and we're going to have rabbits and a garden and the whole bit. So and this is our third time doing this, and so we're kind of tired of doing it. I'm tired and I have fiberglass in my face.
Oh man. Yes. Man. Well, I mean, I really honor the work you guys are doing, and I think it's really great. It's really great to see you guys developing the land and doing what you're called to do, because that's important. I feel like the more people who do what they're called to do, the better we are all going to be in the end, really.
Well, like I said, we would like to have a gathering this next year, and we'd love to have you guys out. Anybody that wants to come, I mean, like we were saying, it just seemed like not even seemed. It's absolutely necessary. It feels like we really feel like, or I feel like I should say that we're sort of filling a void right now.
Yeah.
Like there's this void that's really been needed, and so I see that. I take what I do very seriously, even though I'm a goofball and I talk shit and I curse too much and blah 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 blah. I know, but I take what I do very seriously. I'm very dedicated to what I do. I'm very dedicated to God. I've given my life up completely to Him, and so it's just like I said, it's just kind of needed, and I'm glad we can do it.
Right. Is there anything that kind of comes close, in your opinion, that does kind of perhaps make that void less empty, or do you really feel like it's just a complete sort of hole there that where nothing really exists that to your liking or to your standards or what have you?
Oh no, it's not like there's not like good researchers and stuff out there. That's not what I'm saying. There is. I mean, I will say this: I am tired of most podcasts. I'm tired of just people that just get on and they chat, but that just might be me. That just might my kind of thing or whatever. But I just, as far as like filling the void, what I mean is that, like we said before, like truthers or people that are coming into the know of what's going on, all the spells in the world, stuff like that. They need a church. And I know so many people that don't, they just feel like they could never go to any Christian church because, they're either jabbed or their astrology's evil or blah, 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 And the other thing that I think has really been a void is of literally like somebody going through meticulously, as we do, line by line of the Bible. Like that's, to me, that's something that's really been needed. And I will say this, pretty much every other Bible for the most part, 99%, 98%, every other Bible deconstruction I've seen has essentially been trash. Like, it's just garbage. And I'll just say it. Whatever. That maybe sounds cocky or whatever. I don't care. Like, it's just, it's, you're not getting to the core of anything, not getting to the meat. You're not explaining anything. You're not giving us insights into what this shit means. You're not explaining the parables, none of it. And so I really saw that was needed. And I was like, well, I can do that. I feel like I can fit the bill there, and I can do it pretty well. And so that's essentially what I mean,
Right. No, definitely. No, it seems like you're absolutely uniquely suited to do this.
Yeah, I would
So,
say the same.
yeah, we're both rooting for you.
Hell yeah. And we'd love to come and see you guys when you have everything set up and you're ready to have visitors. Yeah, I've never been to Missouri, and I'd love to see it. There's, lots going on.
For sure. Have you guys planned like a time of year by chance?
Probably September or something, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Something like that, because we have to get the land prepared yet too. We still have another next year to do a lot of things, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Excellent.
Nice.
But we
Well,
want to build a
Mart-
church too. Like that's actual physical church. So
Right. Totally.
Nice. How long out do you think that might be?
Oh, I don't know. We just need a couple donors that have a few million. So we're trying to get yay. That's what we're gonna do. We're gunning for yay.
I see.
No, I'm just kidding.
If there's any donors in the chat,
Yay, or if you're in the chat, if you want. No, just we're taking it step by step, but it's definitely a goal. And and that's actually something we're going to do next month. Is we're going to start sending out newsletters, and we're putting a tenets of the order together, with basically letting people know exactly what our what we'd like, the metrics that we'd like to meet, and what we'd like to do, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, we're very serious. So, and I will show people that I'm serious. So.
Oh, definitely. I believe that for sure, man. So I think we're probably going to be wrapping up here, but we have to talk about Gnosticism.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that leading up to the conversation that you really wanted to bring up. So if you want to field that or ask that.
Well, I mean, for me, Gnosticism is just, it's a point of interest for me. And so obviously you are the Gnostic Academy. So I just wanted to pick your brain. And when you hear the word Gnosticism, what does that mean to you? And what do you, how have you applied the aspects of Gnosticism to your life?
Okay, well, that's the thing, because when we talk about Gnosticism, what that means to us and what I explain it as and how it is defined is different than what a lot of people believe and what a lot of people see online. And I definitely make a very strong distinction between those. Mm-hmm. To me, Gnosticism is basically just as the word is defined. It's just knowledge of spiritual mysteries. That's right. It doesn't come with any church dogma. It doesn't come with any, you have to believe this. It doesn't come with any, whatever. Oh, demiurge this, blah, 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 blah. That is all stuff that, yes, has been tied or tethered to Gnosticism, but isn't necessarily, that sort of thing. To me, Gnosticism is really just a conglomeration of the mystery school traditions. And that's essentially any tradition that was trying to understand, quote unquote, the esoteric or mystic, or let's just say the true meaning of scripture, and not only that, but the meaning of life and what we're doing here and all that sort of stuff. That pursuit is done through, it's done through gnosis. I mean, it's personal experience and direct insight. It's basically, when you're given something, it's given by God. It's like when you have that little insight, that epiphany, that synchronicity that happens, that puts you on the course, that you have the aha moment, all of those things that, if they come to be true, are given by God directly. And so the process of Gnosticism is literally just following that path. So the other thing for me, Gnosticism basically means is to prove God. Is not to have a belief in God, to take the belief that basically puts faith in action, if you will, and have an understanding and proof of God, that you can actually prove that there is an intelligent force behind this. You can prove metaphysics, and you could do that through math and geometry, et cetera, et cetera, So that's what Gnosticism is. I don't tie it to Valentinian Gnosticism or Demiurge this or any of that, So.
Gotcha. Yeah, understood. The main thing I think was clarifying, I guess, what most people think of as, the common acknowledgement of Gnosticism that you're going to see on a lot of shows and things like that versus, the traditional sort of way of looking at Gnosticism.
Yeah, and I've just wanted to hear your take on it because, everybody seems to have a different take on it. And I always look at it as just knowledge in general. So I like the way you put it. And it's interesting. I think it's important to make the distinction between some of these. I saw Jenny G in the chat, the pop culture Gnosticism versus actual, Gnosticism. And just like a lot of things that get spun in weird directions in pop culture, I just think it's important to kind of, check it every once in a while and talk about it from what is the actual origin of this,
Yeah, one of the things I think we have to remember, especially living in the times that we live in, is that, it's just like, look at how many Christian denominations are out there. Look at how many different people that follow one book and one dude, except come up with all these different interpretations and beliefs on it. Look at gematria. Look at astrology. Look at, it doesn't matter. You can just pick any sort of subject and you're going to see 1,000 different people giving you 1,000 different explanations of what it means. Gnosticism in this sense is really no different as far as I can see. You have a whole shitload of really bad Gnostics, just like you have a whole shitload of bad astrologers and bad gematricians and bad metal bands, right. But every once in a while, you're going to have a freaking Black Sabbath or whatever that comes out. You know what I mean? You're going to have a Deftones that comes out where it just kills. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right on. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do is be the Deftones of Gnosticism.
I like that. Yes.
That's a quote. That's good. I like that.
No, but I mean, I'm trying to clarify these things for people and not be full of shit. And then actually, we stand by what we're teaching. That's, when I explain Gnosticism, we're doing it in the tenets of the order. It's like, I've been teaching this for 10 years now. Hasn't really changed at all. My understanding has grown much, but I'm more clear on this subject than these subjects than I was 10 years ago for sure. But same ideas,
Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to give you an opportunity to plug anything that you'd like to plug and tell people where they can find you and all that great stuff as well.
GnosticAcademy.org is the website, and then we do service every Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube and Rockfin, and probably Rumble here pretty soon because I'm probably going to get booted off YouTube if I keep talking about the shit I'm talking about. But anyway, so that's what we're doing, yeah. And then books and Bible and rosary packages, and we've got documentaries, and I've got a documentary that I'm working on right now that I want to hopefully come out this year. It looks like. And a couple more books in the works, a children's book in the works, lots of things going on. So,
and you also just released an album, correct?
Well, not recently, but yes, I've joined up with a guy who's doing DIY independent music.
Okay.
Record label. Stumbling over my words here. Record label, and so because all the record labels are absolute shit now and run by Antichrist. So he decided to start his own, and so yeah, he's going to release like 6 or 7 of my records that I've made over the years, and then I've got about 2 more that I have in the hopper. I just waiting to record. I just need a house, I just need a roof over my head, and then I'll record some music.
Got it. Right on, man. I heard one track when you were talking to Chance the other day. I think he ended it with one of your tracks. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah,
good work, dude. I really got to check out your discography, honestly, and see what you've been up to in that regard, because I don't know if I've been exposed to it before.
Oh, well,
but excellent work.
Some of it's good, some of it's not good.
As everything we do in life.
I'll be the first to tell you.
Well, it's good to be realistic.
Absolutely.
I'm very even keeled when it comes to my music. Yeah, I won't go all total ego and Kanye on you or anything. So anyway.
Well, right on, man. Thank you so much for your time. One of the things that I'm taking away from this conversation is really just the reminder that You know, what you said earlier about the sheep who goes astray isn't really alone. He has that shepherd. There is that guidance there, and that you aren't alone here, right, in this journey. And so I don't know. That definitely resonated with me. So I think I needed to hear that.
Yeah, there's this Joseph Campbell quote, and I'm going to butcher the quote or whatever, but basically he was talking about when you go on the hero's journey, that when you go, you'll have all the saints with you that have went before you cheering you on. And we talked about this in relationship to some Bible passage. I forget what it was, maybe a week or two ago. But it was akin to like when you hear like Native Americans and they talk about, oh, our ancestors are here with us right now. They're here, you know, the spirits are here with us right now. And you hear that and it's like, oh, that's a nice, oh, those natives, they had some good philosophy and some interesting spiritual ideas. No. They were 100% serious. They were dead serious. They really meant it because it was really true. And so that is, I think, something that people need to hear again, especially considering the world that we're heading into, you know.
Yeah, I agree. That's beautiful, and it's a great reminder.
No, that's what I'm here for. And to make you some wildly mediocre music sometimes.
Nice. Well, Marty, we appreciate you so much, and we really enjoyed having you on. And I just want to wish you the best on healing and getting that fiberglass out. And if you have any other questions or you come to an epiphany with it, I'd love to hear about your progress because, our healing journeys are really important, and they teach us about ourselves and the world in so many ways. So it feels like hell sometimes, right in the middle of it, but there's something there that's wanting you to pay attention to something. And so I just give you my blessing as you walk through that fire of fiberglass.
So you're basically telling me that God's telling me I'm a whiny bitch, huh? Because that's what I've been today. So.
Oh, we've all been there, man. We have to be whiny bitches sometimes. It's just how it goes. But
well, I echo the same sentiments, dude. Best of luck on your recovery over there. That sounds unpleasant, to say the least.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All righty, Marty. Well, until next time, thank you so much and have a great night.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. All right.
Nice.
Well, y'all, thanks for hanging out tonight. So Marty was not feeling so hot, but he pushed through, and that's awesome. I'm really glad. So you guys can send him some healing vibes as he takes care of, it sounds like he had some fiberglass that entered his skin a little while ago, and now it's starting to try and work its way out. So he is definitely working through it. So we send him our healing wishes.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you to all the patrons out there. As I said in the beginning, we have Chance, Sarah G, Liam, Amy, Miriam Hank, Jenny G, Erica, Moonlander, Spoons, Mary, Louie, Diane, Logan, Debbie, Natasha, Mary Beth, Nausicaa, Stephanie, Jennifer, Charolai, Peter, Elise, and James, and Amy. Woo. Thank you all so very much. As always, patreon.com/thehealinghome if you'd like to become a patron. All of your support is very much appreciated. Next week's show, we have Serena Marinelli of Tippecanoe Herbs. Yes, it is the woman who is behind Tippecanoe alongside Kyle. I am so excited to interview Serena, get to know her a little more. We're going to talk about her journey as an herbalist, what it was like for her living in Italy, what it's like running an herb shop alongside her lovely husband Kyle. So I'm really excited because Serena, she was on Kyle's podcast when they talked about chamomile, and when I heard her speaking, I thought, oh my goodness, I want to hear more from Serena because I haven't heard much from her other than we got a chance to meet her this past summer and hang out with her and Kyle and Davide. But in terms of her herbal knowledge, which I'm sure is vast and deep, I haven't heard much. So I really, really, really am looking forward to talking to her. So that's going to be next Tuesday on the 10th of October at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the Healing Home. Full Moon Offering newsletter. The next issue is coming out on October 28th, but this month's issue just dropped, and it is my elderberry and reishi mushroom syrup. I have actually 4 bottles of the syrup left. It's going pretty quickly. So if you're wanting to get your hands on some, I highly suggest getting a hold of me because we made this batch with blue elderberries that Mario and I actually harvested together on our elder tree in our yard. So it's very, very special this time around. It's always special, but this one has some extra love and juju in it for sure.
Yep.
So the elderberry and reishi syrup is $22 for an 8-ounce bottle. So if you're wanting to get one of those, you can email me at michelleshealinghome.com. As always, we are working on an online store. So soon enough, you won't have to email me anymore. You could just go to the store and place an order, and it'll be much more easy on everyone. So that's fun and exciting. michelleshealinghome.com. Wow, our internet is really wonky. michelleshealinghome.com for any other inquiries. You want to talk to me, read my blog, just see what's going on the internets. Go to my website. You can also call or text me 503-568-1569. Last Thursday, we're going to come to you this week. We didn't come to you last week. We're going to, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, no.
And that's how it goes.
Totally.
So we're going to come to you guys this week with another episode. And I think we'll probably draw a close to our Summer of Love this week. So come and join us and see what we're going to chat about there. SymbolicStudies.com.
That's right.
Mario's right here. So all things Mario, head to SymbolicStudies.com. You can book tarot readings and study sessions with him and all the other things that you want to find out about Mario. You can do that through his website.
Yes, indeed.
And I think with all that said,
that'll do it.
That's going to do it for this evening. Thank you again, babe, for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you to Marty and Jen. We love you guys. Much love to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Have a good night.